I, 18-year-old female, have a very big family with cousins ranging from ages 14 to 23. Amongst this bunch, there's my elder cousin Ava, 22, who is the perfect golden child and has always looked down on all of us. More like her parents boast about how she doesn't drink, smoke, party, have a boyfriend, etc. Last month, I was at my friend's house and found out that she goes to the same college as my friend's brother Jason. I asked Jason if he knew her, but the probability was low because she doesn't party and is an introvert. He asked me if it was Ava, surname, and I said yes. He was shocked to say the least about the shy/introvert non-party girl part. He pulled up her Instagram, which didn't have her full name but some made-up thing to do with Caro Bar or some other thing, and it turned out I was blocked. I screen recorded her account and sent it to my 3 cousins who I'm very close with. 16, 19. They were all shocked too because she doesn't dress like that. Party, curse from captions, have a boyfriend, etc., or so we thought. And we all agreed not to tell our parents. But it turned out that my 16-year-old cousin Maxie showed it to her mom. Her mom is like 34, and they're very close. But no one mentioned it for a long time anywhere, and we all went our merry ways. On Christmas, we all met at my grandmother's place. And again, Ava's parents started singing her praises, and she sat there looking like a shy and sweet girl. This always happens. She always comments on our clothes, from red lipstick to short shorts to high heels, and she doesn't talk to most of us, but rather sticks to the adults. Maxie's mom had enough when Ava's parents said that Ava is a good girl and would never make a mistake like getting pregnant at a young age and isn't like any of the other children. Now, Maxie's mom was a teen mom, and she had enough. She sent the screen recording on the family group chat and asked everyone to check their phones. This caused a blunder, and Ava and her family ended up leaving without apologizing for their comments. On the 27th, Ava's father wrote a big message on the family group chat that their daughter can make her own choices and is not liable for an explanation to anyone, and she isn't, but all of them are hypocrites, and no one replied. Today, Ava messaged me that she found out that I circulated the video. I clarified that I did not have any intention to show it to any adult or sabotage her image, and I also said sorry, but she called me a witch. So of course, I told her that she's the dumb one, and if she thinks she can hide her true self behind social media, that isn't going to work. All of my frustrations from the last 7-8 years or so let out. She hung up the call, but then I found out that her family won't be attending the New Year's brunch. Now I'm thinking if I just shouldn't have said anything and apologized. So am I the jerk? Edit. To the people saying I'm jealous of Ava, I'm not. Except for Ava's parents, no one cares that teenagers do teenage stuff like I mentioned above. I had no ill intention on outing her. I didn't know Maxie would show it to her mom. If anything, the other parents were always worried about her. Also, Ava and I were close when we were like 4 and 9, but we all started drifting apart from her after her parents' beliefs were forced upon us, and we talked back to them. We never excluded her, but she was the elder golden child and mingled with adults more. I don't think many people relate to big families having this dynamic. Edit 2. A lot of people DM'd me asking why I didn't include the part that I'm adopted in this post as it was mentioned in the last one. That's irrelevant because I was adopted at birth. Why the heck do you even care? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The only a-hole here are Ava's parents, to be honest. Your cousin hid stuff from her parents. And that's fairly normal, especially if she is knowingly going against the reputation she has built with them. You aren't the a-hole for being curious about her reputation at school once you found out that you knew someone she went to school with. You also aren't the a-hole for sharing the information with your cousins, who have also been repeatedly treated poorly by Ava's parents. When Ava's parents started their nonsense, comparing golden child Ava to all the other cousins' grandkids and making it seem like their kid can do no wrong, I don't blame your aunt for sticking up for her daughter when she had definitive proof this time that they were full of it. Not the idiot. No one should be comparing their kids to anyone else. And more importantly, no one should be criticizing literal teenagers and younger kids when their child is an actual adult. Ridiculous. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here except Ava. You're all judgmental jerks, and her parents are clearly clueless and insufferable idiots. But Ava doesn't owe anyone an explanation or justification for how she lives her life. The rest of you just come across as jealous and desperate to tear her down just because of what her parents believe about her. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild couple of weeks since my last post about my cousin Ava and the whole Instagram drama. I've got some updates that I just have to share because things have gotten even crazier. After the whole blow up at Christmas, things were super awkward in the family. Ava's parents were still in full defense mode, and my aunt, Maxie's mom, was pretty much the villain in their eyes. But that's not even the half of it. So remember how I mentioned Ava's perfect image? Well, turns out she's been keeping secrets bigger than any of us could have imagined. Last week, my cousin Mia, one of the 16-year-olds, overheard Ava arguing on the phone with someone. Mia's always been the sneaky one, and she couldn't help but eavesdrop. She caught something about keeping it quiet, and it's not the right time. Mia told me and our other cousin, Jake, the 19-year-old, and we were all buzzing with curiosity. Then 2 days ago, I was at the library when I bumped into Jason, my friend's brother. He looked super uncomfortable when he saw me, and after a bit of prodding, he spilled the beans. Ava and Jason had been secretly dating for months. And not just dating, but they were pretty serious about each other. My jaw hit the floor. Ava, who always acted like she was above dating and all that, was in a full-blown relationship with Jason. But wait, it gets juicier. Jason told me that Ava was planning on moving in with him after graduation, which is only a few months away. He seemed really into her. But he was also stressed because Ava wanted to keep their relationship a secret from the family until she was ready to move out. He felt trapped between wanting to be open about their relationship and respecting Ava's wishes. Now let's rewind a bit to give you some context about why this is such a big deal. Ava's parents have always been super strict about dating. They've drilled it into her head that she needs to focus on her studies and career first. So for Ava to go against that and not only date, but also plan to move in with Jason, that's like a declaration of war in our family. Back to the present, I was torn about what to do with this information. I mean, after the whole Instagram fiasco, I didn't want to be the one to start more drama. But then, things took an unexpected turn. At a small family gathering a few days ago, Ava was acting all high and mighty again, lecturing Maxie about responsibility and future plans. Maxie, who's been feeling pretty down since her mom became the family pariah, snapped. She called Ava out in front of everyone, saying she knew about Jason and the moving-in plans. The room went silent. Ava's face turned beet red, and she stormed out without saying a word. Her parents were in shock. They kept asking if it was true, but no one said anything. It was like we were all holding our breath, waiting for the next bomb to drop. And drop it did. Ava's mom, who's always been the one to brag about Ava's accomplishments, broke down crying. She couldn't believe Ava would do something like this without telling them. Since then, Ava's been avoiding all of us. She won't answer texts or calls, and her parents are trying to do damage control, saying that Ava's just going through a phase. But we all know it's more than that. Ava's perfect image has shattered, and now she's got to deal with the fallout. As for me, I'm just trying to stay out of it. I've got enough on my plate with school and my own life. But I can't help but feel a little responsible for how everything's turned out. If I hadn't asked Jason about Ava in the first place, maybe none of this would have happened. My aunt tried to baby me again, so I shut her down hard. She didn't see the twist coming when Mom revealed the truth. I am a 19-year-old female, and I have low-functioning autism, previously referred to as Asperger's before it was changed. While it may be cliché to say, you probably wouldn't notice my autism unless you got to know me. There isn't much that I can't do because of my autism. My entire family understands this and treats me normally, except for my aunt. I was diagnosed at the age of 8, so I vaguely remember how my aunt used to treat me before the diagnosis. She treated me like any aunt would treat their niece. However, once I was diagnosed, everything changed. It felt like a switch flipped in her mind, and she started treating me as if I had severe intellectual impairments. She speaks twice as loud and at half the speed, refers to my parents as mama and dada, and acts as if I'm not in the room. I could go on all day about the things she does. It's insane, and I have no idea why she does it. Obviously, there's no way to have an intelligent conversation with someone who thinks I can't even take care of myself. If I had a nickel for every time she asked my parents if I was capable of going to the bathroom alone, I'd be pretty rich. Our extended family is quite scattered, so we only gather once during the holiday season. This year, my parents hosted a gathering a couple of days after Christmas. My aunt was there, and she was worse than usual. She kept asking if I needed someone to cut my food every 5 minutes, if I needed playtime with my 3-year-old nephew, and so on. I want to clarify that my parents don't just stand by and watch this happen. My mom and aunt used to be much closer before my aunt started treating me this way. They have kicked her out of family gatherings, along with other relatives, multiple times over the years. However, it's like she resets after 30 seconds. Anyway, I was sitting and chatting with my cousins. I had my shoes on because we had been in and out all day. Out of nowhere, my aunt comes up to one of my cousins and says, "Oh, why didn't you fix her shoelaces? They're a mess." To be fair, I'm not the best at tying knots, but I can tie my own shoes. As I tried to politely tell her to leave me alone, she brushed me off and said, "Come on, honey. Auntie is just going to tie your shoes for you." I was mortified to be treated like a toddler, and I sort of exploded. I screamed at her to leave me alone and went up to my room where I had my first full-on meltdown in like 5 years. I stayed in my room until everyone who was leaving had left. Thankfully, most of my cousins and my brother stood up for me. Most of the adults from my parents' generation also support me, but my dad said that by acting that way towards my aunt, I essentially proved her point. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your aunt is unhinged indeed, but your father, that's another level of being a jerk. Of course you are. Not the idiot. There is a limit of mistreatment one can endure. And the fact that this was going on for more than 10 years without your parents putting their foot down and demanding from your aunt a respectful behavior is mind-boggling to me. Your aunt has no point. She is being disrespectful, and no one, autistic or not, deserves this level of disrespect ever. You may have special needs, but being treated as an object is not one of them for sure. Comment 2. See, I'm 30 years old, and I was actually diagnosed with autism at 16 years old. I think my case is almost the same as yours. So I believe I can say that the way your aunt treats you all these years really caused this situation that was expected. It wasn't right to yell at her, but look, you've been putting up with this for years. I really would have exploded much less time ago. Has anyone intervened and explained her condition properly to her? Not the idiot. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. A lot has happened since then, and I thought I'd give you an update. So after the whole shoe tying incident at the family gathering, things got even more intense. My mom, who's always been my rock, had a serious talk with my aunt. She reminded her of the times before my diagnosis, when we used to bake cookies together, and how my aunt would praise me for being so smart and creative. My mom tried to make her see that I'm still that same person, just with a label that helps me understand myself better. But my aunt, she just wouldn't listen. She kept saying things like, "But she needs our help, and we have to be there for her in ways others can't." It was like she was stuck in her own world, where I was someone else entirely. Then, a few days ago, my cousin, who's been super supportive, invited me over to hang out. We were having a great time, just chilling and playing video games, when my aunt showed up unannounced. She walked in and immediately started fussing over me, asking if I had taken my medication, I don't need any, and if I was feeling overwhelmed by the game's fast pace. My cousin lost it. He told her off, saying that I was more than capable of handling myself and that she was being disrespectful. My aunt got really defensive and started arguing with him. It was a mess. But then, in the heat of the moment, my cousin blurted out something that left us all speechless. He revealed that years ago when I was first diagnosed, my aunt had gone to some sort of seminar about autism. Apparently, the speaker had outdated views and basically told everyone that people with autism were like eternal children who needed constant care. My aunt had taken that to heart and never bothered to update her knowledge or understand that autism is a spectrum. I was shocked. It explained so much about her behavior, but it was also so wrong. I felt a mix of anger and sadness that she had let this misinformation shape her relationship with me. The next day, my parents decided to have a family meeting, including my aunt. They laid out all the facts, brought articles, and even testimonials from adults with autism who live independent, successful lives. My aunt listened, but you could tell it was hard for her to let go of her beliefs. Then, my dad did something unexpected. He apologized to me in front of everyone for saying that I had proved my aunt's point at the Christmas gathering. He admitted that he hadn't been fair to me and that he was proud of how I stood up for myself. It was a huge moment for us, and I could see that it made an impact on my aunt too. But the real twist came when my mom pulled out an old photo album. She showed pictures of me as a kid, doing all sorts of things like riding a bike, winning a spelling bee, and playing with friends. She pointed out that I was the same person in those photos as I am now, just older and wiser. My aunt started to cry. She said she was sorry and that she didn't realize how much her actions had hurt me. She promised to learn more about autism and to treat me with the respect I deserve. It's been a week since that meeting, and things are slowly getting better. My aunt has been sending me articles she's found about autism, asking me to help her understand. It's a big step for her, and I'm cautiously optimistic that our relationship can improve. Just yesterday, she came over for coffee, and for the first time in years, we had a real conversation. She didn't talk down to me or question my abilities. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we were starting to get back to how things were before my diagnosis. My student's dad ignored her fever, so I called him out. He tried playing the victim, but the truth hit him hard. I am 26 years old, and I have been teaching kindergarten for 3 years. However, I have been working with children outside of my home since I was 16 years old. I've encountered my fair share of rude and distasteful students and parents, but I have never been in this situation before. Today was the first day back to school after winter break, and I honestly missed my students. So I had planned for today to be a very chill day. We would be doing some activities before lunch, but then I decided to put on a movie. Maybe 20 minutes after the bell rang for class to start, one of my students, let's call her A, came up to me complaining about not feeling well. Since class had just started, I told her she could put her head down for a few minutes, and then I would see if I had to call her dad. Now, here's something to know. A has divorced parents, so 1 week she's with her mom, and the other week she's with her dad. This week, she's at her father's home. After getting my other students started on their work, which maybe took 15 minutes, I went to check on A. She told me she was still feeling very awful. I felt her head, and she was completely burning up, as if she shouldn't have come to school at all. Luckily, she was sitting at my desk, so I am the only person at risk of getting sick. I ended up calling her dad, and while the phone was ringing, she confessed that 2 days ago, her father had taken her to the doctor, and they were told that she had the flu. Now, I was very furious. What parent sends their sick child to school? I asked if there was a reason, and this poor child told me that her stepmother forced her to go because she didn't want her little sister getting sick. A is one of my best students, and I really wanted to give her a hug, but I didn't want to pass it on to the other kids. Her father finally answered after the second call, and I explained the situation. He simply said that he knew and that A should stay at school because he didn't want his other children getting sick. At this point, I was beyond pissed off, and I asked, instead of taking care of your sick daughter like any other parent would, you send her to school so she can get other children sick, just to protect your other children? He was about to answer, but I ended up telling him how selfish he was and told him I would call her mother. A's mother was furious when I told her that A was at school. She demanded that A stay home once she was told she was sick, but I guess Dad and stepmom didn't care. After that situation was over and A was safely with her mother, I ended up reporting it. When I came home and told my mother what happened, she kind of lectured me and claimed she would have done the same if her stepchild was sick. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Does your school have rules for how parents should respond to illness with their kids? Like kids can't come to school until their fever breaks and stays under 100 without medication for 24 hours? I feel like you should maybe talk to admin as well and let them know what happened so that they understand your position when the father inevitably calls to complain. Also, yeah, your mom sucks. That's awful. Comment 2, not the idiot. She's sick, and her crappy dad and stepmom forced her to go to school. Not only was she sick, but it was extreme enough that her dad took her to the doctor. You did the right thing informing her mother and reporting this. Don't listen to your mom. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about the situation with my student A, and boy, do I have an update for you all. Buckle up, because things have gotten even more intense. So, after A's mom picked her up that day, I thought that would be the end of it. But nope, the drama was just getting started. A's mom, who I've known to be a very involved and caring parent, came to see me the next day. She was still fuming about the whole ordeal and wanted to make sure I knew she appreciated me looking out for her daughter. She also mentioned she was considering taking legal action against A's dad for neglect. I was shocked, but also kind of understood where she was coming from. Now, here's some backstory I didn't mention before. A's dad and I actually went to the same high school. We weren't close, but I knew of him. He was always the laid-back, popular guy, but I guess people change. I never would have thought he'd be so careless with his own child. Anyway, fast forward to a few days later, and I'm at the grocery store when I bump into A's stepmom. She recognized me instantly, and to my surprise, she started apologizing profusely. She said she was stressed out with her own sick baby and didn't think things through. I was taken aback but accepted her apology, hoping it was sincere. But here's where things get really steamy. A few days after that, A's dad shows up at the school. He requested a meeting with me, which I thought was going to be him apologizing too. Boy, was I wrong. Instead, he starts accusing me of trying to sabotage his custody of A by siding with his ex-wife. He was raising his voice and everything. I was stunned. I tried to explain that I was just concerned for A's well-being, but he wasn't having any of it. Now, remember how I said A's mom was considering legal action? Well, she did, and she used the fact that I reported the incident as part of her case. This led to A's dad thinking I was conspiring with his ex, which was not true at all. I was just doing my job. In the midst of all this, A was still coming to school, and I could tell the poor girl was caught in the middle of her parents' mess. She was quieter than usual, and it broke my heart. I've always had a soft spot for her, because she reminded me of myself when I was her age. I grew up with parents who were always at odds, and I knew how tough it could be. Now, for the jaw-dropping moment. A's dad and mom ended up having a confrontation right in the middle of the school parking lot. I only heard about it because other teachers saw it happen. They were shouting at each other, and A's mom even slapped him. The school had to call the police to calm things down. It was a mess. After that, things seemed to quiet down for a bit. A's dad stopped coming around, and A's mom was more present than ever. I thought maybe they had reached some sort of agreement. But then, just yesterday, A's dad came to pick her up, which was strange because it was her mom's week. He pulled me aside and in a much calmer tone than before, explained that there had been a misunderstanding. Apparently, A's mom had taken her anger out on him. But after the parking lot incident, they had a long talk and realized they were both just scared and wanted what was best for A. They decided to put their differences aside and work together to co-parent more effectively. I was relieved to hear that, but then he dropped another bombshell. He confessed that he had been under a lot of pressure at work and that he hadn't been thinking clearly. He said he was sorry for how he treated me and that he was going to make it up to A and be a better dad. I was glad to hear he was taking responsibility, but I couldn't help but feel a little skeptical. I mean, after everything that had happened, it was hard to just take his word for it. But for A's sake, I hoped he was being honest. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.